When people think of poison, they imagine something physical, chemicals, toxins, or a hidden substance in a glass. But with narcissists, the poison isn't something you can taste or see. It's emotional, psychological, and invisible to the naked eye. Their poison is delivered through words, manipulation, and carefully designed tactics meant to weaken you slowly. You don't realize you're being poisoned until you start doubting yourself, losing confidence, and questioning your reality. Narcissists rarely strike with one big blow. Instead, they prefer slow doses of poison over time. Like drops of venom, their actions may seem small at first. A critical comment, a subtle insult, or a dismissive gesture. On their own, each moment feels harmless, but over time, the accumulation eats away at your spirit. By the time you notice, the poison has already seeped deep into your thoughts and emotions, making escape harder than you imagined. The first deadly poison they use is words. Narcissists understand the power of language. A single phrase can lift someone or crush them, and they weaponize this truth. They sprinkle in backhanded compliments, sarcastic remarks, and subtle jabs that plant seeds of doubt. These words replay in your mind long after the conversation ends. The poison works best when you start repeating their words to yourself, believing their lies as if they were your own thoughts. This verbal poison often sounds harmless to outsiders. A narcissist might say, "You're too sensitive," or "You're lucky I put up with you." To anyone else it sounds like a joke, but to you it's a blade cloaked in humor. Each jab chips away at your self-esteem, leaving invisible scars. The poison lies in repetition. The more they say it, the more it sinks into your identity, making you doubt your worth and reshaping how you see yourself. The second deadly way narcissists poison you is through gaslighting. This tactic is psychological warfare at its finest. They deny things you know happened, twist your words, and challenge your memory until you're left unsure of your own reality. Over time, you begin questioning yourself instead of them. The poison here is confusion. It disorients you, breaks down your confidence, and leaves you dependent on their version of events, which always keeps them in control. Gaslighting is dangerous because it doesn't happen all at once. It begins with small contradictions. "I never said that," or "You must be imagining things." At first, you may argue back, but eventually the poison takes hold. You start thinking, "Maybe I did forget, maybe I'm wrong." This self-doubt gives the narcissist power. By poisoning your reality, they make you easier to control, because you stop trusting yourself and start relying on them as your only truth. The third deadly poison is isolation. Narcissists know that the stronger your support system, the harder it is to control you. So, they slowly pull you away from friends and family. They might say, "They don't really care about you," or "I'm the only one who truly understands you." At first it feels like love, like devotion, but in reality, it's poison, cutting you off from those who could remind you of your value and help you see clearly. Isolation works like a toxin, because it's gradual. A cancelled plan here, a guilt trip there. Before long, you've stopped reaching out to others, either because you're tired of the conflict or because you've internalized their lies. You begin to feel alone, and that's exactly what they want. In solitude, their voice becomes the loudest. Without outside perspectives, the narcissist's poison spreads unchecked, convincing you their distorted version of reality is the only one that exists. The fourth deadly poison is projection. Narcissists are masters at throwing their flaws onto you. If they lie, they accuse you of dishonesty. If they cheat, they accuse you of betrayal. If they feel insecure, they say you're the one who's never satisfied. This poison works by transferring their darkness onto your shoulders. You carry blame that isn't yours, shame that doesn't belong to you, and guilt that slowly eats away at your confidence and peace of mind. Projection is so effective because it creates confusion and self-doubt. You begin defending yourself against accusations that are baseless. Instead of questioning them, you question yourself. Am I really selfish? Am I ungrateful? The poison here isn't in their words alone, it's in your reaction. By forcing you into a defensive position, They keep you distracted from their own flaws. The more you defend yourself, the less energy you have to see the truth. The fifth deadly poison narcissists use is fear. They don't always need to raise their voice or make direct threats. Sometimes it's a cold stare, a slammed door, or a chilling silence that says more than words ever could. Fear becomes the silent poison in your body. You start adjusting your behavior, not because you want to, but because you're scared of triggering their next reaction. Slowly, fear becomes your invisible leash, keeping you under their control. Fear works because it lingers. Even when they're not around, you anticipate their reaction. You walk on eggshells, second-guessing every word, every choice, every movement. The poison here is anticipation. You start poisoning yourself by trying to predict their moods. This conditioning keeps you trapped long after the outburst is over. The narcissist doesn't need to constantly punish you, because the fear they planted ensures you police yourself, making their control effortless and invisible. The sixth and most deadly poison is shame. Narcissists inject shame into your life, like venom. They highlight your flaws, magnify your mistakes, and remind you of your failures at every opportunity. Shame becomes the filter through which you see yourself. Even when you achieve something, the voice of shame whispers, "It's not enough. You're not enough." This poison is devastating because it rewires how you perceive your worth, making you dependent on their approval for survival. Shame works so well because it hides in your mind even when the narcissist is gone. Long after the relationship ends, their poisonous words echo in your thoughts. You hear their voice when you make a mistake, when you try something new, or when you look in the mirror. The poison of shame outlives the narcissist, keeping you tethered to their control. That's why survivors often feel haunted. It's not just memories, it's the toxic residue of shame. When all six poisons, words, gaslighting, isolation, projection, fear, and shame are combined, the effect is devastating. It's like being trapped in a cage built from invisible bars. You may not see the prison at first, but you feel it. Your confidence erodes, your joy fades, and your sense of self slips away. That's exactly what the narcissist wants, a weaker, more dependent version of you, someone easier to control and less likely to break free. The scary part is how natural the poison feels over time. You get used to the constant criticism, the doubt, the fear, and the shame. It becomes your normal. That's what makes narcissistic poison so dangerous. It doesn't shock your system like sudden harm. Instead, it seeps in quietly until you no longer recognize yourself. Breaking free means detoxing your mind and soul from years of poison that was disguised as love, care, or even protection. Narcissists thrive on this poison because it feeds their ego. Watching you shrink gives them a sense of power. They don't just want admiration, they want domination. Their poison is proof of their control. But what they never expect is that victims can recover. Just as poison can be countered with antidotes, so can narcissistic abuse. Awareness, support, and healing act as the medicine that cleanses the toxins they planted, giving you the strength to rise again. One of the most important antidotes is truth. Where gaslighting brings confusion, truth brings clarity. Naming the abuse breaks the spell. When you can finally say, "This is gaslighting," or "This is projection," the poison loses some of its power. Awareness turns invisible toxins into visible patterns. You stop blaming real self and start recognizing the manipulations for what they are. Truth is the light that exposes the poison, and once seen, it can no longer control you. Another antidote is connection. Narcissists isolate you so their poison can spread unchecked. Rebuilding relationships with friends, family, or support groups acts like a cleansing agent. The more voices of love and affirmation you hear, the weaker the poison of shame and fear becomes. Connection reminds you that you are not alone, not broken, and not defined by the narcissist's lies. Healthy bonds act like medicine, restoring what was stripped away and reviving your spirit. Healing also requires patience. Just as poison doesn't kill instantly, recovery doesn't happen overnight. The residue of doubt, fear, and shame lingers, but with time, you learn to separate your true voice from theirs. Each step you take toward independence, each boundary you set, is part of the detox process. Eventually, the poison loses its hold. The narcissist may have injected venom into your life, but your healing proves that even the deadliest poison can be overcome. Narcissistic poison often disguises itself as love. They say, "I only want what's best for you," while criticizing every choice you make. They say, "I just care too much," while controlling your freedom. This poison is harder to detect because it hides under affection. You think their strictness is love, their jealousy is passion, their insults are honesty. But love doesn't shrink you, it expands you. Poisonous love is not love at all. It's ownership in disguise. Another trick is using your empathy against you. Narcissists know you care deeply, so they poison you with guilt. "After all I've done for you, this is how you treat me." That single line drips with venom. It makes you feel selfish for setting boundaries, cruel for protecting yourself. Empathy becomes your weakness, and they exploit it fully. The poison of guilt keeps you tied to them, apologizing for things that weren't your fault in the first place. Sometimes the poison comes through silence. The famous silent treatment is more powerful than words. They withdraw affection, ignore your presence, and punish you with absence. The poison here is emptiness. You beg for scraps of attention, desperate to fix something you didn't break. Silence becomes louder than shouting. It forces you to chase, to prove your worth, to believe that their approval is oxygen. But in reality, their silence is just another tool of control. Narcissists also poison your perception of time. They remind you of your past mistakes repeatedly, chaining you to regrets you've already learned from. At the same time, they threaten your future, saying, "No one will ever love you like I do." This toxic use of time keeps you trapped in fear of what was and what will be. The present moment slips away under their poison, leaving you paralyzed in a cycle that benefits only them. The poison of comparison is another cruel tactic. They hold you up against others, an ex, a sibling, a stranger, implying you'll never measure up. "Why can't you be more like them?" they say, dripping venom into your sense of self. This constant comparison eats at your identity, making you feel smaller with each word. Instead of embracing your uniqueness, you start believing you're flawed, inadequate, and replaceable. Their poison makes you question what once made you proud. One of the deadliest poisons is unpredictability. Narcissists swing between kindness and cruelty, creating emotional whiplash. One moment, they shower you with praise. The next, they tear you down. This hot and cold poison is addictive, keeping you hooked like a gambler waiting for the next win. The cycle creates hope, then despair, then hope again. You cling to the rare kindness, forgetting it's only bait. Their poison thrives on instability, because it keeps you too dizzy to leave. Another subtle poison is constant surveillance. They make you feel watched, judged, and evaluated even when they're not around. A raised eyebrow, a suspicious question, or an unnecessary accusation poisons your sense of freedom. Soon, you live as if you're under a microscope, editing your words and actions to avoid conflict. This invisible prison steals your spontaneity, your joy, your authenticity. The poison isn't in the watchful eye itself, it's in how it reshapes your behavior. Narcissists poison you by twisting kindness into weakness. If you forgive, they call you naive. If you show compassion, they say you're too soft. Slowly, you begin questioning your best qualities. The poison here is distortion. They convince you that what makes you human is a flaw. In reality, kindness is strength, forgiveness is wisdom, and compassion is power. But under their poison, you start hiding these gifts, afraid they make you vulnerable when they're actually your greatest weapons. The poison of dependency is a trap many don't see coming. Narcissists make you believe you can't survive without them. They remind you of favors, provide financial help only to hold it against you, or convince you that no one else will accept you. The poison works by weakening your sense of independence. Over time, you forget your own capabilities. But the truth is, dependency is manufactured. Their poison blinds you to your strength, which was always there. Another deadly way narcissists poison you is through your dreams. They dismiss your goals, mock your ambitions, and plant doubt in your future. That's unrealistic, they say. You'll never pull it off. The poison seeps into your motivation, making you abandon passions that once lit up your soul. Dreams are lifelines, and narcissists cut them to keep you stagnant. Their poison steals not just your present joy, but your future possibilities, leaving you stuck in their shadow. Sometimes the poison comes in the form of false hope. Narcissists promise change, swear they'll be different, and beg for another chance. For a moment, you believe. You lower your guard, thinking the poison is gone. But false hope is just another dose. When they break their promises again, the cycle tightens. Each disappointment is more painful than the last. This is how false hope becomes poison. It keeps you stuck in a loop, drinking lies disguised as love. They also poison you with triangulation. By dragging in third parties, exes, coworkers, even strangers, they create jealousy, insecurity, and competition. They may casually mention someone else's interest, knowing it will sting. The poison here is doubt. You start believing you're not enough. Triangulation destabilizes relationships, making you fight for their attention instead of questioning their behavior. This poison is especially deadly because it feeds off your natural desire to be valued and chosen. Another form of poison is humiliation. Narcissists might mock you in public, expose your secrets, or make jokes at your expense. To them, embarrassment is entertainment. The poison lies in stripping away your dignity, making you feel small in front of others. These humiliations often come disguised as just joking, but the sting is real. Over time you anticipate the ridicule, silencing yourself to avoid it. The poison steals your voice, replacing confidence with silence. Narcissists poison your ability to trust. They betray you, then convince you the betrayal was your fault. They make promises they never keep, but blame you for expecting too much. This poison seeps into future relationships, making you suspicious even when no danger exists. The damage lingers long after they're gone. The poison of broken trust isn't just about them, it infects how you connect with the world, leaving scars that take years to heal fully. They also poison your sense of joy. Things that once made you laugh or feel alive no longer seem fun under their shadow. They mock your hobbies, dismiss your happiness, and criticize your excitement. Slowly, you stop sharing your joy, hiding the things that light you up. The poison kills celebration, replacing it with shame. You begin to believe your happiness is too much, too silly, or too unimportant. This poison is deadly because it dims your inner light. The poison of obligation is subtle but powerful. Narcissists make you feel like you owe them your time, your loyalty, your everything. They remind you of sacrifices they made, whether real or exaggerated, and demand repayment. The poison works because obligation feels like duty, but it's really manipulation. True love doesn't keep score. Under their poison, you live indebted, never free, always guilty for not giving more, even when you've already given more than enough. Narcissists also poison your perception of boundaries. They push past your limits, ignore your no, and laugh at your requests. Over time, you stop setting boundaries altogether, believing they're useless. The poison here is hopelessness. You feel like nothing you do matters, but boundaries are not weakness, they're shields. When poisoned, you forget that. You allow trespasses you once swore you'd never accept. Their poison numbs your defenses, leaving you exposed and vulnerable to further harm. They poison you with endless drama. Chaos is their comfort zone. They stir arguments, create crises, and manufacture tension, then blame you for being too emotional. The poison is exhaustion. You become so drained from constant conflict that you no longer have energy to resist. Exhaustion keeps you compliant, quiet, and resigned. Narcissists thrive in chaos because it weakens your willpower. The poison of drama ensures they remain the center of your focus, no matter the cost. Another subtle poison is perfectionism. They set impossible standards, then criticize you when you fall short. No matter how hard you try, it's never enough. The poison here is futility. You chase approval that will never come. Over time, you internalize their harsh standards, poisoning yourself with relentless self-criticism. You stop celebrating progress and only see failure. The narcissist poison convinces you that you are permanently flawed, ensuring you remain dependent on their judgment. They also poison your body with stress. The constant tension of living with a narcissist takes a physical toll. Headaches, sleepless nights, fatigue, even illness. Their poison doesn't just live in your mind, it seeps into your body. The stress becomes chronic, leaving you drained and vulnerable. The cruel truth is that their poison can shorten your life, because it's not just emotional, it's biological. The body remembers every dose of venom long after the words have faded. Narcissists poison your sense of fairness. They bend rules to suit themselves, move goalposts when you get close, and always find ways to win. This injustice poisons your hope. You start believing the world isn't fair, that your efforts are pointless. This hopelessness works in their favor. By convincing you that fairness doesn't exist, they keep you trapped in their rigged game. Their poison teaches you to accept imbalance, ensuring they always stay in control. Another poison is dependency on validation. Narcissists create a system where their approval feels like the only reward. You chase compliments that rarely come, working harder for scraps of recognition. The poison is scarcity. They give just enough praise to keep you hooked, but never enough to satisfy. This keeps you chasing, always striving, never resting. The poison convinces you that your worth comes only from them, when in reality, their validation is worthless. They also poison your boundaries with intimacy. They may withhold affection as punishment or weaponize closeness to keep you hooked. The poison lies in conditioning you to see love as transactional. Affection is no longer free, it's earned, controlled, rationed. This warped version of intimacy poisons your future relationships, making you suspicious of love itself. You begin to wonder if every gesture of care hides a trap. The poison of distorted intimacy lingers long after they're gone. Narcissists poison your sense of peace with constant unpredictability. You never know which version of them will show up, the charming one or the cruel one. This uncertainty poisons your nervous system, keeping you in fight or flight mode. Even in calm moments, you can't relax. The poison of unpredictability ensures you remain alert, anxious, and ready to defend yourself. Peace becomes foreign, and chaos feels normal. Their poison rewires your brain, leaving scars on your sense of safety. They poison your identity by labeling you. You're too much, you're too little, you're not enough. These labels become chains, redefining how you see yourself. The poison isn't just in the words, but in how they stick. You start wearing those labels like truths, forgetting they were lies. Over time, your true identity fades under the weight of their definitions. The antidote is remembering who you were before the poison, a self untouched by their distortion. The poison of dependency also appears in finances. Narcissists may control money, limit resources, or guilt you for financial support. This economic poison makes leaving harder. You feel trapped, unable to imagine survival without them. Money becomes a leash, disguised as responsibility. But dependency is a cage they built. Recognizing this poison is the first step toward breaking free. Because financial control is not love, it's another tool to weaken you and strengthen their grip. Another deadly poison is envy. Narcissists cannot stand your joy, success, or growth. Instead of celebrating, they diminish. It's not a big deal, they say. Anyone could do that. Their envy poisons your victories, making you feel guilty for shining. Over time, you learn to hide your success just to keep the peace. This poison dims your light, but it doesn't destroy it. With healing, you reclaim your right to celebrate without apology, free from their envy. They also poison you with exhaustion of hope. Each cycle of abuse, apology, promise, repeat, drains your belief in change. The poison is despair. You stop expecting better, settling for survival. This despair keeps you tethered because you forget what's possible beyond their control. But the antidote is hope reclaimed, Their poison loses power the moment you remember a life beyond them exists, filled with peace, love, and possibilities they never wanted you to see. Perhaps the cruelest poison is erasing your voice. Narcissists interrupt, dismiss, and override your words until you stop speaking up. The poison here is silence. You learn to hold your truth inside, swallowing opinions, dreams, and pain. Losing your voice is losing your power. Yet recovery begins the moment you speak again, even softly. Every word you reclaim is an antidote, a sign that the poison is fading and your true self is returning stronger than before. In the end, the 6 deadly ways narcissists poison you: words, gaslighting, isolation, projection, fear, and shame are only the beginning. They wrap these toxins in countless tactics designed to break you down. But poison loses power once exposed. Awareness is the antidote, connection is the cure, and self-love is the ultimate shield. Narcissists may inject venom into your life, but you hold the power to cleanse it. Your healing is proof that their poison never wins.